The challenge when you're doing this is to turn the recording on without telling people, and then just capturing the brilliance that happens of how we make sauce.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I like that capture the brilliance thing. So, Jeff, hit it.
Right on cue.
Just make sure the sigh gets on to begin. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of La Champ or Lucky Track Dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate. We even think you Drifto Hellflush peeps are, right? As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, as well as the news and notes from the world of low-dollar amateur racing. And we might put each other on the spot, be hella sweet or but terrible. And if you're lucky, Chrissy might give you just a tip. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to another Heinz installment of our podcast. This is episode 57. And before I get to the first segment, I want to remind everyone not to mention Bubba the Love Sponge this week. It seems we did it 2 weeks in a row. And I just wanted to make sure that... Oh, crap. I already screwed that up, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
That's 3 weeks in a row.
Stop it.
And incidentally, I took great pains to avoid Heinz in mentioning 57. That's why it was Bel Air, which is infinitely superior.
No, I used to live in Pittsburgh. I love Heinz.
Yins love Heinz?
Yins love the pints there. Which bridge is that?
Yeah.
Let's get to wish Yin's working on. Chrissy?
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
It's Pittsburgh for what's you're working on.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, hi. I am working right now, working late every night, but just kind of like Jeff's life. But this is United Way Week, so I am. We're not at our goals yet, so I have a good half an hour worth of work left to do right now. So I'll be a little bit quiet if anyone's looking for me. This weekend I stayed home. Everybody else was racing. I was home. I was really productive though. So I came home. I made a casserole. I did some laundry. I stained the deck, and that's awesome.
Why did you stay in the deck? I was supposed to come help. You guys help stain my deck.
You're coming to help do the
kitchen.
Oh, okay.
So
and
I had
the Nissan. And the Honda.
Oh.
Ooh, and you know what? And on that note, hey, Jeff, how's the Citroen paperwork?
Exactly where it was. I was racing all weekend.
Come on. Can you do it sometime? I keep sending you. Now that I have a meme maker, I make my own meme and send them to you.
Meme maker is the greatest thing on your phone.
It makes me laugh.
I may or may not have had a hand in that, and I'm absolutely not ashamed of it. By the way.
No, you started it, and then now I make my own memes. So anyway, I stained the deck because I bargained with Chris and said we are going to the shore if I stain the deck on some other time when it's not shore weather. So now I had to stain the deck. So I stayed home. You all raced. Although when you get to the stories of what actually happened, I probably was more productive than you guys. So
no. We're all infinitely more productive when we're not racing, but we're not racing, so who gives a crap?
We did things. We weren't sitting around like.
Yeah, you did unnecessary things, though.
Yeah. Actually, anyway. I spent an unsizable portion sitting around because smarter people than me were working on the car.
Yeah.
Well, someone has to eat chips.
Right. So that's what I did this weekend, and then we had a family party on Sunday, and now I'm working all the time. So that's me. Chris, what are you working on?
Oh, nothing. Just sitting around.
Eating chips.
Having some Mercedes wheel headaches continue. So the wheel that had the flat tire is bent, and then I had the other two ultra rare AMG two-piece 19 by 10-inch rear wheels for the car that I'd gotten out of a junkyard about 2 years ago before one lap. Both of them had developed cracks. I brought them to a local import place that's high-end European garage. It also has race prep and stuff, and they were mounting the tires for me because again 30 series tires are tough. Anyway, they found these little cracks, and I said, okay, great, what should we do to fix it? They said, we can weld that up. I said, fantastic. So they welded it up. A year later, one of them broke, one of them recracked. They welded it up again. Now they're both recracked. So I said, well, obviously that didn't work. So I'm going to bring all 3 of these wheels to a nice, proper wheel collision place. Right, up north of Allentown on my way to New Hampshire. So I did. I brought all 3. And the guy took one look at the ones that they had welded and said, nope, not going to touch them. No chance. But we'll fix the bent one. That's only $249.
You did not tell me this story. What?
Yeah. Well, here you go. So now
you were too busy. You were too busy being productive.
You want to burn pods.
So now I have 2 unobtainium boat anchors of AMG wheels that I can't get more of. So, yeah, mental.
Those are the perfect end tables for the Alfa Romeo coffee table.
I was going to use broken Civic engine blocks for that.
Oh, we got them in.
I got plenty of those.
We have plenty of them.
And cylinder heads and all that stuff. So I was going to now go back to the place that did this and say, so guys, what do you want to do about this? Because I can't get these. I mean, when I kind of sort of can on eBay, they're like $600 a piece. So, yeah, thanks for welding these up and telling me this is great.
You know what they're going to say. We'll just weld them again.
Yeah, I sense a
bringing them back. If I have a lifetime warranty of welding that crack back up, then okay, that'll work.
Did it crack at the same place they welded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It cracked on the weld again.
On the weld?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right exactly in the same crack. It re-cracked with the weld.
Wow.
So anyway, so that I have to go back there and create a scene. I mean, technically, I know the warranty of merchantability that they could have applied because they knew what I was doing. They are the experts. They told me this was going to work. Yada yada yada. I have a case, but I'm trying not to do that.
Dude, they're welders. They don't want legalese. They want a 6-pack. Bring them a 6-pack, and you've got a lifetime welding warranty.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you might catch more flies with honey.
Or beer.
That's what I'm going to try first. I'm going to try first. That's why I was going to say, hey guys, just what are you going to do to help me out? Like, now I'm screwed. Anyway, I am getting ready, all the cars ready for inspections because we have a bunch, and we try to do them one day in a row, so we just keep dropping one off, picking one up, drop one off, pick one up. It works out pretty nicely. So the Mazda went first today, and I was trying to do everything else. Mazda failed because of a gas cap and a strut bushing on top. So anyway.
Really? They check those things?
Oh, yeah, they are really good about it. They really check stuff here.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the gas cap I'll buy, but, man, yeah, the shock top seems kind of like a
loose strut bushing. So, hey, whatever. You know what? If they give a really good look, I don't have to. I just fix what they tell me. So no big deal. That's coming. I had to patch the muffler in the Suburban, though. It had developed a leak in the side of it. So I just grabbed a piece of scrap sheet metal, didn't even trim it, cleaned the edges up, cleaned the edge of the muffler up, and welded a patch over the hole in the muffler. Said, yeah, it's about right.
I had the same decision to make in the Mazda 3 this weekend. I have a hole in the mid pipe.
Yeah, mid pipe's a little harder, but just get another piece of pipe, stick it over it, weld it up, done.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Or just leave it because then it sounds awesome.
It's in the middle of the cabin, so I definitely got to patch it out.
It resonates.
Yeah.
I've also
sounds like this.
Oh, so it doesn't actually sound like your brother's WRX.
No, it doesn't sound
it sounded kind of awesome.
It's not my brother's anymore, but
it's Aaron's.
You know what I mean. When it was your brother's.
Wartburger Aaron.
Yep. It's also the Suburban just developed a wet front floor on both sides, and I don't know why. So I vacuumed it up. I left the mats out now, and it was like under the mats. Everywhere else was dry. And it's both sides, so it's probably not the AC condensate. So I don't know. So once it's nice and dry, I'll run some hose over it, see if I can figure that out. What else? I made another cabinet, replaced some light bulbs in the cars, and that whole like lemons thing, New Hampshire. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's me. Mental. What are you up to?
Mental.
So, trying to clean out the house. We are trying to reduce our footprint because we are looking to downsize. So I've been selling utility trailers and tools and a motorcycle dolly and some other tools that I've had. And I've just come to the inescapable conclusion that people who actually, not even people who buy stuff online, people who browse stuff online just suck like a Holley carburetor on a 76 Camaro.
So,
oh my God. Yes, Chris.
Where do you buy most of your used things?
I do buy my stuff online, and here's my deal. Hey, that's a fair price. When can I meet you? And that's my conversation. I told you guys 2 weeks about the guy that said, "Oh, I'm on my way. Oh, wait, no, I'm getting arrested."
I'm getting arrested. Yeah,
and you
that was a
had
great
time
story.
to Facebook message me on that one, or the guy that wanted to buy the saw is like, "Oh, but I'm a veteran." Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I like the guy getting arrested better than the guy coming up with every other excuse in the world. At least he was straightforward with you.
Well,
Oh,
it's true.
crap, I'm getting arrested.
But was I?
It
Is
make
that
you
true?
hanging?
Yeah, yeah. So now today I'm trying to sell a trailer, and this guy's like, "Oh, I'm in Columbus, and I'm typing this with one hand because I've got a broken elbow. Any way you can deliver?" No. It's a 3-hour trip. No, I'm not doing it. Just friggin' come and get this stupid thing, you bonehead.
Why
Yeah.
sell a utility trailer? They're so handy to have around, especially if
They are.
If you're moving,
or
seems
you just
great.
loan it around. Like they're just great. Like I don't know.
You want a utility trailer? I'll give it to you.
No, I had to buy one for Jeff's parade after I sold the last.
And I'm still the only one who ever used it, right?
This one,
No,
this one.
No, one other
Our
person has used
neighbor.
it now. And everyone else, everyone but me has used it. It's
You're
great.
the only person who scratched it, Jeff.
That's right.
No, it's one of those old Harbor Freight ones that used to fold up and fit in the corner of my garage. I
Oh,
bought it.
Those are crap anyway. So
I bought it 11 years ago. It's been great, but now it doesn't fold anymore. So I just kind of like bolted it in place and put a 4x8 sheet of plywood on it and put new lights on it. And it comes with a ramp and a receiver hitch with a 1/8 ball. And I'm asking I'm asking $250. And oh dear God,
I sold one just like that my mom had. I had to put new wood on it and do a little painting and stuff like that. But I think I got over 200 for it when I sold it. And
So-
super nice kid with a Subaru Forester showed to pick it up. So,
Nice.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I was
yeah.
going to say you probably listed it for $250, and if somebody showed up with $200, they'd walk away with it, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
PayPal me the money now and I'll keep it for 2 weeks. I don't give a crap. Just give me the damn money, Chrissy.
The difference between selling things in Massachusetts and Georgia.
Yep.
Actually,
Mic
I sold
drop.
that here, but
Fair
Pennsylvania.
enough.
No.
But
I brought it home
Here.
to fix it, to sell it, and somebody
yeah.
nice. Good.
It was easier for me to sell a broken Porsche Boxster than it was to sell a $250 utility trailer.
Wow. That's great.
Jeff,
Anything else there, Mental?
no, Jeff, and I noticed you're wearing the Mac Daddy watch, the one that if you ever fall asleep and it's not on your wrist anymore, don't look to my suitcase. I'm just saying.
It's like $25 whole dollars.
Mm.
Yeah. So there were we had a race. I don't know if anybody knows that. We went to New Hampshire and back.
I was too busy racing to notice.
I understand. So at 7:30 in the morning of race day, if we're trying to leave for the race day, my father dropped off the RV in front of my house, knocked on my door, and said, "Hey, we got to winterize this thing. It's gonna freeze." So at 8 a.m., I'm like literally no socks, like sneakers on, no socks, like pouring pink antifreeze all through my father's RV so that we could take it to New Hampshire. And that was just the beginning of the pre-race excitement. I know we're going to talk about...
now didn't he drop it off a week ago?
He did. No,
and then
he
you
took it
drove
back.
it to his house.
Yes,
when
last week
you
after
could have
we
winterized
recorded
it.
Wednesday.
Right.
No, I didn't know it need winterized. I don't know. It doesn't take long, but the problem is he also said, and you got to pump up the tires. So like pumping up the tires in an RV in front of your house is like, you got to get out like 100 feet of hose. It's got the dualies. So you got to like get that weirdo inside. It's such a pain in the butt, and then I got to take all the crap out of it. So, lots of pre-RV work has to happen before a race, but I'm still glad we have it because the warmth that thing generated this weekend in New Hampshire was worth every bloody second.
Oh hell yeah!
Hey, it was a bit nipply up there in New Hampshire.
There are so many times
legitimately,
that
what
RV
did it get down to? What was the temperatures?
25.
I was going to say 27 is the lowest I saw.
That RV has been a sanctuary for us at so many races, whether it was like balls hot and we had the AC cranked, or stupid cold and we're sitting in there in the heat, or pouring rain and we're laughing at all the fools out in tents. Yeah.
Or the wind at Monticello. Remember the wind? It was like 200 miles an hour. So anyway, so I will talk about some pre-race fixes that I had to do. We're going to talk about the race when we get to the main topic, but so I was in charge of the Ombre and the Mustang being from Garage Heroes in training. And we got there, and during testing, we noticed that the exhaust was leaking in the Ombre, but it didn't fail. We were leaking fuel in the Mustang, but Jim and Alan from Garage Heroes fixed that, so it didn't fail. And then we actually failed for the battery tie down and box in the Mustang. So it seems this is a new Lemons focus. So if you're out there with a battery, John Pagel warned us all. He said, I'm going to fail every battery that's not perfect. And we failed, so I had to do that. So yeah, so that was the race. Got home, been doing laundry, and Monday morning in my Facebook feed, an ad showed up for cheap Pilati Prototipo shoes, and I bought myself a couple pairs, and they arrived today. Like $35 each.
Ooh, nice. I remember eons ago on Grassroots Motorsports, somebody posted up a coupon code, and they were selling old school Pilates, and I bought those in like 2007. I still have those shoes.
I had a pair back then too.
Yeah, they're bulletproof. These are bulletproof. They're covered in paint now because they use them as painting shoes. But
yeah,
they're
what
tough.
They're like.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Yep.
There it is. News and notes time.
Ladies and gentlemen, last week we talked about the unfortunate incident regarding Richard Rains, who was the corner worker who was killed at Laguna Seca, and is mentioned as soon as we found out when and how they were going to be doing a memorial fund for him, we would post that up. Just today, I got a text from our guest last week, Steph Schrader, and we have now got the links to the Richard Rains Benevolence Fund. It has been established by Laguna Seca to help support his family and pay for expenses, and we're going to have that link in the show notes.
And for those who don't subscribe to Panamera, either they don't have a Porsche or don't think that their farts don't smell, they can read Panorama and see Steph's article as a 3-page spread in this month's issue about her adventures at NOLA this past April in the 24 Hours of Lemons. So link in the show notes.
Oh, nice. Cool. This is like actual news here. I'm glad I'm not the only one. And so the BBC just announced that the 3 new hosts for the show.
What show might that be, Jeff?
Yeah, Top Gear. Who wrote these notes? The BBC announced that the 3 new main hosts for Top Gear will now be famed tire slayer Chris Harris, English comedian and TV presenter Paddy, that's Paddy McGuinness. That is the most Irish name on the planet.
It really is.
That's a nice Jewish guy, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
know, but here's the deal. You know, if Paddy McGuinness invited you anywhere, you're going because you know it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
I know his cousin Patio Furniture.
Not as much fun. Likes to sit around a lot.
Exactly. So, and a former cricket captain, Andrew Freddie Flintoff. I don't have a clue who these people are except for Chris Harris, but I'm sure I'm going to watch.
Yeah. This weekend, the World Racing League was at Hallett, and Saturday, the Noesis guys took the podium with 302 laps. Shaky Dog took second with 300 laps, and SD Faces was third with 299 laps. Sunday, Noesis didn't finish, so the podium actually went to Shaky Dog, then SD Faces, and Fifth Gear Motorsports. But of note was our buddy, listener, Todd Carver and the Rocksteady crew. Now, they didn't get a chance to finish Saturday because one of their top drivers, he's sneaking into a pack of GP4 cars. He's getting an arrow toe, and the car in front of him fuel starved. They actually looked at the video and he had a half a second to react, which he did after rear-ending and puncturing the radiator. So they snapped a bunch of mounts, had to pull the lights off the car. The team thrashed. They borrowed parts from Shaky Dog, actually. Some other teams fabbed up some cardboard and beat the car back into shape, so they got back out Sunday morning. Ended up 13th overall in a field of 25 finishers.
Cool. AER, it was at Mid-Ohio, and Lemons was in New Hampshire. But we will get to that later. But we want to first congratulate Anton, Chris, and Mary and their Salty Thunder. Oh, and the others with the Salty Thunder race team and the number 90 Fiero. Everyone, hold on to get ready to clutch your pearls. A Fiero finished 4th overall. this weekend at the Lemons race.
That's impossible.
That is amazing.
Especially if we're not running against it. No Fiero holds together when we're not driving against
God.
it.
So anyway, that ended up being a second place in B class by 1 lap, and they brought home the IOE, and this is all at the Get Your Fill High Plains weekend. So other notables we spoke of at the High Plains race was the Zoom Zoom Kaboom and the So Fast, that's SEWSO Fast, and they were both 343 and 334 laps, and then they were right behind the old thing there. And Dump in a Box Motorsports, 3rd overall with 334. So first Zoom Zoom Kaboom, second So Fast. 3rd in A, because of course Anton is in the middle there with 303 laps, was Win and Out, right? Win and Out?
Yeah.
God, I gotta write my own notes.
I think it's a play on the In-N-Out burger.
Win and Out. There it is with 8th overall. So 3rd in Class A was 8th overall at this race. That's insane.
Someone was a little eager in B cars this week.
Exactly.
This time. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, a Fiero held together. When would that ever? Fiero,
sure.
There's no way this Fiero's going to last. Go ahead, B, 0
Yeah, so
laps.
Dump in a Box, Salty Thunder were 3rd and 4th, and then Panda Espresso was 5th. So it was actually 3 B cars right in a row.
Wow.
Crazy, right? Ella Force, 1 C class. Don't know what they drove. No one else cares. Let's keep going.
You want the good?
Sure,
Yeah.
give us the good,
Okay,
Chrissy.
some of our picks did well. Grumpy Cat Racing in their 1950 Dodge truck did solid mid-pack, 198 laps, 4th in C. 4th in C, that's pretty good. Bad, as it turned out, was bad. No need to rub it in. The funding was not much better.
So you took all of them out.
Oh,
I'm sure they
Because
still
we don't
want
want to rub in the poor foot.
They finished.
It's like,
we
I feel
were
bad.
gonna say that they finished, except for that one team that finished dead last.
When people do really badly, we're not going to call it.
Sometimes just finishing is a victory.
We got 2 of our own races to recap this week, so let's keep going.
Yeah.
All righty.
Hey,
Upcoming, what's coming up this next weekend?
just cut Chrissy off before she would
Oh, sorry, I
say the
thought you
last
were
part first. No.
It's okay. Or choice in the 2018, Get Your Fill. Why would you do that? The Chevette. That's what I know.
Chevette with the Volvo engine, because that makes perfect sense. Makes their team name make complete sense now. Why would you do that?
A Volvo red top turbo. So like the Volvo people were like, no, how dare
It's a
you?
good motor.
Yeah, it is.
It
Dirt
is.
runs.
Yeah. So, hey, this weekend, on the heels of the busiest weekend on the endurance calendar, we've got Champ Car at Atlanta Motorsports Park, Race Plus 7. Friday is the start of the Lemons Rally Route Sucky Suck through November 2nd. So I'm sure Eric Rue's going to have some great stories about hitchhiking his way across the country on that rally. We'll look forward to having him at some point. And we're waiting the announcement of the 2019 schedule from Lucky Dog, but they're going to be back at Portland International for a double 7. What's up, Mental?
Just before we went to air, Kathy actually got a hold of us and she sent us the entry list. So we apologize for not getting it out there, but she did mention that the schedule will be announced on November 1st.
There you go. Next Thursday.
Fantastic. Great.
And she also reminded us that we need to go ahead and sign up because the Laguna Seca event usually clears out pretty quickly.
Yes.
Oh,
We will the
great.
second it drops.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. And for other great tracks like Laguna Seca, Mental.
Extreme Experience, folks. They put you in the driver's seat of the world's best supercars at over 20 racetracks in America and Canada with no speed limits, no shifting restrictions, and no governors. Head over to xxspeed.com to choose your supercar. Find a racetrack near you, like Atlanta Motorsports Park, where we're going to be over Veterans Day weekend, and come see me personally and start making a story of your own, because they've got over 7 models of exotic supercars to choose from, 20 plus racetracks in a year-round location in New Orleans, Louisiana, complete with that often cursed 3,200-foot straightaway. You get a professional instructor like me, Jeff, or Chris in the car with you, helping you explore the car's limits and learn how to drive the racing line. Save 25%. Folks, that's buy 3, get 1 free. If you use the code EVERYONERACERS at XX Speed to book today, Extreme Experience, it's your turn.
Nice.
And you know, everyone this weekend took turns to wishing a happy birthday to Chrissy's mom. we'd sent her a whole bunch of pictures of people holding the happy birthday Chrissy's mom sign. So
She was so happy. That was awesome.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I didn't know what you were doing. You're like, here, hold this up. And then I read it and I was like, it's Chrissy's mom's birthday? Why didn't anybody tell me? I would have sent her cookies.
That would be weird.
It would be funny.
Or
They'd be
awesome,
like
yeah.
Oreos. Something like that.
famous Amos.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, you want to cheap out on that one.
All right, let's do listener feedback. We got a few to get through before we get to the main topic.
We do. So met a new fan, and Jake Rupert this weekend at Mid-Ohio, so I sent him the link to the podcast, and actually before I even got home, he sent me a text that said he's enjoying the podcast already. Smart crew, very, very, second very, all caps, impressed.
Well, he's easy to impress.
Seriously.
Actually, he's a corporate Learjet pilot, and he did some professional racing for Dodge in the early '90s, endurance racing. So he actually, yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Wow.
And we'll talk more about him later because he kind of saved our bacon this weekend.
Hopefully he doesn't drive a BMW or probably called him boring in some of the few shows. So Patrick Llewellyn from Facebook's, he was listening to our show where we talked about the AMC Spirit from the Ridge a few weeks back, and he said that he loves the show, and he wanted to mention that the AMC Spirit that was second in C and won IOE was the one that arrived at the track completely unprepped on Thursday. They caged it Thursday night, and it actually passed tech on the first try on Friday. So not only did they win the IOE, they won the IOE in the car that showed up the least prepped. So good for them. Amazing. Great job. Why do you bother with an AMC Spirit? Just give it to me.
Because it smells like AMC Spirit. So
I know.
very, very poorly done by those guys. That's
yes, great job, actually. Yeah. Great.
Yes. Len White said, overall good time, fun discussing racing, and I love they don't play favorites with the leagues. Thanks, Len.
Kenny Brown was talking about last week's episode, and it was really timely to talk about Steph's concussion. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just published his book recounting his struggles with concussions in motorsports. Scary stuff, but it's good to talk about it so we can all be safer in our favorite sport. Chris, you got something?
Yeah, actually, the last week, right as we were getting ready for the show, Fresh Air came on NPR at 8 o'clock, and Terry Gross was, or maybe it was on point. It was on point, actually. And they were talking with Dale Earnhardt Jr. So I got to hear like the first 20 minutes of it before we came up to record the show. And it was interesting, actually. So I would recommend listening to On Point with Dale Earnhardt if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
After you listened to our episode last week. But yeah,
That's right.
Of course.
Right. We almost had Steph on this week because I hit the dial button and she was like, hello. I was like, oh, sorry, Steph. Didn't take you off the list. So Bill Fisher, our favorite new racer, commented on our Instagram post this weekend. It was a picture of Chris and Jeff wrenching on Tom Lamino's tragically, disgustingly sort of, I wouldn't even bring it up. And he said, this is the best picture of the weekend so far. And Tom Lamino chirped up, yep, that's my heap.
Yeah, that's about right. And Ike from the Untitled Car Show was willing to offer a transmission when Mental and the folks were initially down in Mid-Ohio. So good on you there, Ike. And he said congrats on getting the Fiera. Or actually, we're saying congrats on getting your Fiera running again because we know that's not easy.
Oh, he got the Fiera running again, the one that burnt in his garage.
Yeah. In fact, it's totally rocking new wheels too. If you follow him on the Instagrams.
Don't worry, it'll catch fire again.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to the main topic. It's what we're all waiting to hear about.
Well, do we want to do the big dramatic intro?
Sure, okay. Chrissy looks very bored when we do that. She's like doing work.
She totally is.
Like,
So
I'm actually working.
She is actually working. So two of us were actually at the Halloween Hoopty Fest this weekend at the beautiful New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
I just wanted Hoopty.
And I say we were pretty good with some of our calls on this from last week. I think because we know these Northeast teams. Scooby Doobies, 1990 Audi Coupe Crotcho, won overall and Class A. And I have to say that car, as pretty as it is, it stays pretty because they don't drive like jerks.
Yes.
They are polite. They get around you when they can. They do a nice job. They don't get flags. And that's how you win, kids. So,
Their Mystery Machine decorated Audi Quattro, when it showed up the first time, it was like Oh, they spent a lot of money on that paint, and it is just going to get tragic bad. It's been what, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Probably?
And they're
Still
always in the
works.
top 10.
Yeah.
And it still looks great. It was because they're clean drivers and they've gotten faster and the car is quick. So, hey, good for them. Nice job, guys. FRS's Ugly Uncle, 5th overall, and their Toyota Solara. Who'd have thought, right? They're usually in the top 10 too. Burt One, the old New England stalwart, 9th overall. They clawed their way back. And, not that our own horn needs much tooting, but the 3-pedal Mafia Cressida stayed true to form, 7th overall.
That's 7th. That's actually a
always
couple
is.
back for them. They're usually like 4th, 5th.
Yeah, they did one extra driver change this week. I think that they didn't necessarily need to. Had one black flag, which is very rare for them.
Well, yeah. Do they even know where the penalty box is?
No, that was funny because it was actually Steve, and he comes in and he where to go. He stopped just at the penalty box, saw some cars, and thought, "Oh, this must be someone's garage," and he backs up to go around. So no, Steve, really, that's where you're supposed to go.
I'm sorry you said that. I was going to ask Mental if he could guess which driver.
I
got
honestly,
the flag.
I would have named everybody else, but I would have never guessed Steve. Not a second. That's like second time in 2 years, man. Someone's have to talk to that guy. He's out of control.
Second time ever. In how many years have we been doing this? It was a passenger yellow, and they
Seriously.
looked at the video and they couldn't find it. So Steve's
Yeah,
record
I don't believe that though.
knows.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, they're hard to
Flagging
see.
was
The
great
flagging
this
was
weekend.
tragic. We could talk about it.
Anyway, the Procrastination Alpha. Greg, sorry, you just rolling that roller back up the hill a little too often. Didn't work out that well for you. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we chose the bad, which we were pretty good on this, except 2 of the people actually did all right. Hydrocephalus Racing Team, their 02 Honda Odyssey, finished 102nd. 102nd. That's pretty terrible. One piece at a time, Chevy Monte Carlo, dead last, 3 laps. Never even saw it. The missing lug nuts, and this is where we may have missed the mark a little bit. The 1997 Mitsubishi Eclipse, it was black and red. It actually came in 78th with 273 laps. So, pretty good.
It was a lot crinklier at the end of the weekend than it was when it started.
It was,
Yeah.
but it ran. To get into an accident, you actually have to be on the track.
That's true.
So
True. And that's a feat for an Eclipse.
exactly. So we weren't exactly right. We talked about the 1991 RX 3.8 of the 3-pedal Mafia. We said, don't worry.
Before you get to that, because we had another team that we said either they will or they won't.
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay. All right.
I could do it out of order. So anyway, the 3-pedal Mafia 1991 RX 3.8, they actually managed to not step on their wieners, although they tried. They finished 6th overall with 509 laps and 1 Class B. Finally, welcome to Class A. And I have to say, there was plenty of complaining on the internet when they won Class B about, why are they not in Class A? They should have been there forever.
Yeah, because
they
haven't finished a race in forever.
Yes.
They did have the 4th fastest fast lap time of the race. So
Yes. So it is definitely a Class A car.
Oh yeah.
Like we always say, Class A car, Class D drivers usually equals Class B. I do want to mention, sorry for Party Racing. They pulled off a 15th overall. Exactly what we expected. Had some car engine trouble. Turns out that they first thought it was some ignition, so they pulled it in and swapped some ignition parts, and then they still sucked, and they brought it back in, and it was a fuel pump.
Were they drinking when they were wrenching on the car?
No.
No, it was mid-race.
They were mid-race. They were top 10. They were doing really well, and
That explains
Yeah.
the
It wasn't running.
initial. Yeah, that explains the initial misdiagnosis. They were sober.
yeah, probably. I didn't
where-
say they were sober. I just said it was mid-race. They weren't drinking currently.
Yes.
Now, and we like to always bring up the funny. So the Limentarians, they were 26th and 27th, and they took that Don Garlits dragster from the caddy that they had at New Jersey, and they mounted it on a pit vehicle. Saw that on the Lemons wrap-up video. That was pretty cool. Make the team name awesome. Was in fact awesome, but they finished 82nd. And the Garage Heroes in Training, they were funny and they still are, but they had a rough weekend, which we're getting into later with one of their teammates and drivers.
Yeah, we're
Or,
going to have Bill
like,
and
right
the crew
now.
on to talk about I think probably their whole season. But there's a couple things I do want to mention about it. So, so they bought the Ombre, and the Ombre was supposed to be the shining star of the weekend, and it had one major problem, and it was me.
Well, hang on. Before you even get there, they took it out in testing on Friday, and everything was great. And Vicky was driving it, and she was hauling ass up the hill, and she said for the radio, "I love this truck.
I love this truck."
Right? So, like, things were looking good, you know?
Yeah, testing was great in it. A lot of people.
The car was sorted. They actually were all surprised to feel what a sorted race car is supposed to feel like, even though it's a truck. So it was working out well until Jeff.
So green flag flew and it leaked fuel. So we brought it back in and they said, "Jeff, why is it leaking fuel?" And I said, "Oh, you must have overfilled it. Take out 2.5 gallons. We took out 2.5 gallons and we sent it back and it leaked again. Mental, what happens when you leak fuel twice at a Lemons race?
And folks, everybody loves to make fun of Lemons. Oh, they're so unsafe. They're so unsafe. They're really not. And they're mean about this sort of thing. Hence the thing about the batteries and fuel leaks. And this is written into their 2-page rule book, but it's written in bold, italicized, underlined letters. And it says you get 2 shots at this and then you're done for the weekend.
Yep,
so
second
no
fuel leak.
leaking fuel.
First hour of the race, and the Ombre got parked for the entire event. And just want to officially apologize to the Garage Heroes in Training. There's a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda. Should have put a blue glove over it and put the cap on. Probably would have saved the race. Didn't think it would be a problem again. So, there it is.
It had never been a problem in how many races before?
5-6 races.
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
You know, when we first were having fueling troubles, we had some leaking, but we thought we had fixed it. So
yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? Race prep's going to be easy for that next time.
That's right. It's already ready. Mustang, the story we're going to keep for another show, but just know that Alan and his son and I worked to keep that thing on the track. We actually wrenched our butts off a little bit, but none of this is the big story. The big story was the trucks.
I saw that
trucks.
Instagram. There was 8 trucks.
Eight. I think 6 trucks.
6 trucks.
Was it 8? It might have been.
It's pretty
I have
dope.
to go back to the picture and look.
Several.
There were a lot of new trucks.
No,
there.
like the 24 Hours Lemons posted a whole, and then you could see like the 14 other people all taking pictures of the row of trucks at New Hampshire, and
yeah.
I think even the Garage Heroes in Training had one on their IG.
Yep, absolutely. But I want to mention that the Class C fight was amazing. The Lemontarians limo and the Hit 'em with the Hind Ranger were neck and neck all weekend, and every Sunday, I don't know who they put in there. They put in like Captain Chaos or something. It's like dun dun dun. All of a sudden, that stupid limo is going so fast. The Hit 'em with the Hind Ranger had like a 7-lap lead. They love to step on their wieners, but the Ranger held them off and won Class C with a 23rd in the race. So basically, you got to be in the top 20 pretty much to win Class C these days. Class B is like top 10 every race, sometimes 2 in the top 10. This crap is getting faster. Yeah, there it is.
Well, that caddy's no slouch. Chris, what you telling me that thing's got a built 350?
Yeah, that motor's pretty worked. I think what happens on Saturday, they tell people to take it easier. They put a blocker to the gas pedal. And then on Sunday, they take that out, depending on how they're standing, and give it the beans. And it could go.
They fly on Sunday.
Yeah, they do. It sounds so good, too. It looks so ugly, but it sounds so great.
One more story for me. I want to mention that the Bright Ideas Racing Glenn Farney and his Auto Tragic V6 S10 was running 21st with 45 minutes left in the race of their life. Best truck by far of the weekend. And he broke 3 of 5 of his lug studs. Started clunking around, so they brought it back in. There was literally
front or rear?
15 minutes. Front.
Right front.
Right front.
Yeah, in New Hampshire, that's mostly counterclockwise.
That's wow. I'm literally thinking of every turn where that could go horribly, horribly wrong, and I can only think of one where it wouldn't.
Yeah. So it was took them about 15 minutes. They pounded him out. They put him back in. They sent the guy back out. They finished 24th.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There was actually 2 sets of broken lug nuts this weekend. All Day Rosé, one of our favorite teams, they drive an Integra, 3rd gen Integra. Chris, I'm looking for you for confirmation.
Correct.
Correct. They were like in 3rd or maybe 2nd. I'm not really sure. They got tagged on the front wheel. And then like 2 laps later, every single lug nut broke off. The wheel went one way, the car went the other. They came back on the flatbed with only 3 wheels. They swapped the entire hub in like 20 minutes, plus all the waiting for the tow, and they ended up in the 20s also.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Never
ARP
say
studs,
die.
Yeah, moral of
ARP
the story.
Studs, everybody.
Absolutely.
So, Chrissy, we know that you are hard at work and you're looking mighty frustrated, but yeah, that's an awful face. You had some input for this one.
I do. I'm sorry. I apologize. This is on the notes. So, the only thing I have to say is obviously I wasn't there, and it was sad to be away. And especially, it's one thing when you're watching Race Monitor and you're watching it just casually, not really caring about who's winning. Oh, that's nice. Usually I give, Chris an update and we just kind of talk about it. It's fine. Unless your teams are racing. And then I am watching it like a hawk. So, and then I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I'm like, I'm looking like Facebook, text, what's that thing with Slack? I'm going back and forth between all of them, and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So yes, it's annoying. It is. I apologize to anybody who I annoyed. I tried not to be too annoying. I just wanted updates and have people pit. And of course, we were all for a long time, we were all in the top, 15. At least, maybe higher. I mean, for a while, I think we were all in the top, or all of the cars that we cared about. Not all of them, because Garage Heroes were down the bottom.
We do care, but we weren't
We
expecting
care.
them
We
to
care.
be.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. So I was having a hard time keeping track of the people at the bottom, but everybody else was at the top, and it was awesome. So that's what I did. While I was trying to be productive, I also had Race Monitor running. I was on the phones. I had Race Monitor actually on the iPad and then text on the phone. So that's how it was going. Yes, mental.
That sounds exactly like how I spent 2013 in Abu Dhabi. 2
Totally.
o'clock, 2:00 in the morning. I've got 2 different devices, and I'm texting Jeff, and he would always, "Aren't you 4,000 miles away? Shut the hell up. We're busy."
Nope. Yes, and I was 400 miles away. You should be doing something else. And I was like, I'm so productive. And he was like, we're racing. And then he's like, the car blew up. And I was like, no. Oh, and Race Monitor wasn't working on Sunday morning.
Yes.
So I was like, it was killing me. I was at work, actually. So I'm at work doing stuff. And I'm refreshing, turn off the phone, turn off Race Monitor. I'm waiting for data. Everybody's waiting for data. So yes, that's
And
me.
this is a great time to plug Race Hero. # They should totally sponsor us, because also they don't charge a subscription service.
Ooh.
You pay once and
Yeah.
whatever.
No, I think Race Hero is free.
Oh, I know, but Race Monitor you pay once.
Yeah, Race Monitor. I'm
No, it's an annual subscription now. You're getting billed. I assure you.
Yeah, I find enough enjoyment out of it for the $5 a year. So
That's what I know.
Yeah,
Chris.
so Chrissy, I was going to say that usually we do a lot of the social media posting when
Yeah.
we're at the race, and then I was wrenching so hard that I wasn't doing a lot of social media posting. So I was like, Chris, quick, take a picture of Race Monitor. And he's like, it's all waiting for data. I said, I know, post it. That's hilarious. Say our friends from Waiting for Data are dominating.
That's but you were so busy that you told Chris to go do
Yes.
your social media posting.
and I did, because
Yes.
my car was probably broken.
Yep.
Chris, why don't you
couldn't
tell
help
us
with
all
that.
that?
Well, hey, yeah, Friday we got all super real racer. I was racing a Tom Lamino in the Far From Winning Golf. I keep trying to call it a Fox because Tom Lamino will always drive a Fox in my heart. But fortunately for him, he's glad he doesn't. Although it felt like the Fox this weekend. So
Well,
we had,
eventually it did.
yeah, well, we had 3 very good drivers. We have a proven fast car, and we had a plan. So we were feeling like real racers. We're going to dominate.
Ooh,
So
yeah, you know what happens when you do that.
yeah. So we corner weighted the car. We aligned it with the hub stands. Tom had it in testing day, said this is the best this car has ever driven. And that totally made us dominate swapping motors. So first driver, Nick, got the car out. He was going to run for close to 3 hours, just to push our fuel initially. And he had the car up as high as second overall. He was in the top 5 for most of the morning. Was third at the first pit stop, put Tom in. And as Nick got out, he said to Tom that the car ran rough that last half lap. He wasn't sure it was just running out of gas or what. So Tom came right back in, though. Like, Nick and I get back out. We're taking our helmets off. We're walking back to the pit stall. We just got in there and put our helmets down when the golf ball's into the garage. And Tom said, "This thing is so broken." Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So we just opened the hood and said, yeah, that smells really, really, really hot. Really hot. So it was really hot. What had happened is there was a pinhole leak in the radiator. And over the course of the 3 hours, it had peed all the coolant out until it finally just completely cooked itself. You know that lovely smell? Jeff, remember the time we baked the engine in the boat?
Oh, yeah.
Remember what that oil smelled like?
Hey, I smelled it this weekend, so
Oh, yeah.
I know what
It
it's.
smelled like failure.
It totally smelled like failure. So we did a compression test. First cylinder, 185. All right, maybe this isn't that bad. Cylinder 2, 130. Oh, that's not good. Cylinder 3, 90. Cylinder 4, 70.
Straight down.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a slam.
Uh-huh.
Like my credit rating. It's like, straight down.
So we started pulling the motor. Tom knew a guy who was from New Hampshire who knew a random dude who parts out Volkswagen. So for $150, we got a stock Volkswagen ABA 2-liter because that's about all they're worth. And swapped all the bits between them and put that motor in and ran the car on Sunday just for fun. And it wasn't a turd. Like, I was dicing it out with top 10 cars for a lot of that time. And the real fast cars would get by me and go fine. But I was having a great time out there. The car handles well. It's a bit hard to drive. It's very fast. And so Tom's ready to set it on fire most of the week. Mostly it would have been nice to stay warm from the golf on fire because it was kind of cold. But it's cold everywhere. Like Mental, I know you were pretty cold this weekend.
Well,
but Jeff,
before we get to Mental, let me just say that Chris threw out there like, so he swapped the motor. Chris, how long did it take to swap the motor?
all night. Not all night. We started. Well, the car blew up at about
1 in the afternoon, right?
1:30, and then we had to let it cool off enough to even touch it to even pull the plug.
Because it was like nuclear hot.
It was nuclear hot. Yeah, I wish we'd have known someone with a thermal imaging camera just to see how far up the scale it was, right? I know it was nuclear hot. Like, you couldn't touch it anywhere. So by the time we did that and got the compression test, it was done. It was probably getting close to 3, and we said, yeah, this thing is effed. So we then by the time we got the motor, it was about the time the race was over, and then we worked on that until what, 12? Then
it was about 12:30.
Yeah.
I went over and helped at the end. So I could tell you that it was so hot that it melted the ABS plastic fittings for the water system, like the lower radiator hose on that ABA, like goes through like a black ABS fitting, and it was like so melty it wouldn't hold water anymore.
It was porous, even.
It was porous.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So
That thing got cooked.
So let me just check some facts here. Who fried it?
Nick was driving when it was being fried. Tom was the one who actually drove it in under its own power.
We're pretty sure Nick fried it, right?
Yeah.
And did he help change it?
No. Tom and I changed it. Nick went and got a new radiator.
I was wondering where you were going
him,
with this, because
the next day we made him clean up. We're like, clean all this crap up. You weren't here.
I got there about 3/4 of the way, maybe 5/8 the way through, and they were like, Tom was just he was just on fire. Screw Volkswagen, screw Nick, blah 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 blah. He's like throwing stuff in the corner, and they're like, hey, we might need that. He's like, I'm making Nick clean it tomorrow. I showed up just for the fun. So sorry, I didn't mean to derail us. We're about to trade off to Mental.
We had the LOLs there. That was a good time.
Well, and I was going to say, why are you guys calling out the guy that cooked the motor? You didn't want to talk about the teams that didn't do well at Get Your Fill. No, that totally makes sense. You blew the motor and you didn't help wrench on it? Fucker. You go buy everybody beer and pizza then.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of beer.
Yeah, that helped get the motor done.
So, Mansell, we're about to talk about Mid Ohio, so go
We
for it.
were, and I opened it up, but when I typed these up to say it was a cold weekend at Mid Ohio, it was not as cold as it was in New Hampshire. We were dropping below the 30s every night. And so right behind us was the Don't Paddock Dirty E30, and we've run against that thing. And usually that team is a hoot, but they showed up with a busted ass motor, and they spent all weekend installing a Frankenstein. So one of the teammates used to have a junkyard. He still had a couple of E30s left, including one that had been vandalized 10 years ago and totaled, and it sat in his yard. So they went and got that one, hauled it there Friday night, pulled the motor out of it. It's crap. So they start trying to Frankenstein the good parts of this motor onto their motor. They don't have a head gasket, so they just coated the head in RTV.
That'll work.
And then they sat down with every head bolt, and they chose the shortest of all of them because those were the ones that were the least stretched, and bolted this thing together.
That'll
this
work.
has success written all over it.
All over it. And so Jeff Block is back there, and he's like, they just invited me here to wrench on this. And I said, Jeff, I love you, but this is karma for all the times people have showed up at the track with your giant bad ideas and wrenched on them for 2 nights in a row. So Jeff posted an Instagram video at 3:00 in the morning at Mid Ohio, and it is snowing sideways. And we would leave, and they'd be wrenching on this E30, and we come back in the morning, they wouldn't be there, but it would just be an explosion in the pits behind us. And then they'd show up like at noon and start wrenching again because they'd been there until the wee hours of the morning, and they all needed to get some sleep. Yes, Jeff.
It's very important that if you're doing this marathon slog, you got to do it in shifts. Like, I remember, when we were changing the motor on the boat at New Jersey, and at 2 a.m, Chris went to bed, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it for a couple more hours. And then at 5 a.m, I wrote a note Jeff is a bad mechanic and he can't find the rest of these parts. He's going to bed now. And then you got up at 7 a.m. and took over. So, the work kept going. And that's very important if you're going to succeed in an all-night motor swap.
Your brain is going to melt, and
Yeah.
you're going to make bad decisions, and it's going to take you 3 times as long as it should because you just get frustrated.
Like RTVing ahead onto.
Yeah.
So Sunday, the engine fires. They take 1 lap, but they couldn't even take the checker because it was smoking so bad. They had to drive it through the pits. And there's 3 Instagram videos of people showing cars taking the checkered flag, and then it pulls down and you see this beat up E30 pulling to the pits, and everyone's cheering because they know they've been wrenching on this car all weekend.
That's a sad story.
So back
Tell
to
us about your driving.
Yes, our team. So we've got the MX-5 car, Maryland, the Playboy MX-5 Cup car. Now, took her out on Friday. We were getting some testing done, and AR does require that all the drivers drive on Friday to qualify and to make sure you're not sandbagging. We started having some issues, so they to be blunt, they cut us a break, but they told us not to get too crazy with it. But I even had a minor off-track incident. They were trying to kind of extend the life of the previous race's tires, so they mounted them on the car in the opposite direction, and the car was just sketchy as crap. I'm coming down the back straightaway, and I'll mat it in 3rd gear, and it wants to step out. So I brought it in. They swapped up all the tires. Well, I brought it in after an off-track incident. They swapped up all the tires, and it was better, but it was still old, basically hard.
You went off
hard as work.
track?
Yes, I went off track.
Clutch my pearls.
And of course,
Hashtag not surprised. Keep going.
so yeah, and we've got this great HD video of all of it. So Saturday we put
We're going to
Farrah-
post that video in the show notes, folks.
Saturday we put Farrah in the car because Farrah is the equivalent to Steve, the dishwashing fairy. He has no ego on a track. He is actually really, over the last year, has gotten alarmingly fast. He is just really, really quick, and he doesn't make dumb decisions, and he'll let everybody else screw up, and he will bring that car in drama-free. So we got him out there. Clutch is making a little bit of a funny noise. We chalk it up to the temperature on the throwout bearing, and we sent him out there, and he ran really, really strong and really, really clean right up until the 4th lap when he brought it in, because it turns out noise wasn't temperature. It was the throwout bearing, because Mazda uses plastic liners on their throwout bearings.
Yep.
It melted. Yep. So we had to pull the transmission, and they had a spare transmission back at the house, so they're on their way to get it. But we were actually really concerned about the throwout bearing. So Myron Vernus, a Junkman 356 on Instagram. You need to know who this guy is, because he's friggin' amazing. He owns a Mazda Cosmo and all kinds of other oddball cool Japanese collector's cars. So he's a local guy. He saw our woes on the Twitter and the Instagrams, and he showed up with a bearing because he had one. And then we sourced another one because he hadn't shown up yet from AutoZone. And then when they went to grab the transmission, there was a bearing on the transmission. So we had all of the throwout bearings. No one else, no other Mazda was getting a throwout bearing. So Jeremy Howard, Bozy, and Bojan Terevic, the Boost brothers, follow them on YouTube. John Shevel and Chuck Squiglateria got the transmission swapped, and we sent her back out to finish the day. Now,
None of these names sound real, by the way. You made all of these up.
The Boost brothers, they're on YouTube. You should totally be watching these guys. All right. So they got to send it back out at the end of the day. During the post-race with Trek Tour, they found weeping from the high-dollar aluminum radiator. So we're trying to source a stock radiator, and we talked about Jack Rupert. Jack Rupert agreed to drive to Cleveland to get us a radiator, the only one in Ohio, and drive it back with 30-mile-an-hour crosswinds that knocked over 2 semis during that storm. And he got it back in there, and the crew got it put in there. So Sunday, we're up. Kevin Madsen, our pro driver and instructor, got in the car and took us literally from worst to first inside of 30 minutes. We were at the back of the pack, and he had us on the podium in 30 minutes. We put in Travis Okulski, and he set another blistering pace for every bit of 5 laps. Gearbox was stuck in fourth. What we had done is we had swapped the transmission. We had a proven transmission, and what we should have done is just swapped out the nose piece, but nobody wanted to risk damaging the one good part that we had. So they went ahead and do that. So the same crew that I mentioned swapped the transmission before, 92 minutes. Dropped the transmission, swapped the nose cones, put the new old transmission back in it, and it was on track. Our pit stop was 92 minutes.
That's pretty impressive.
It is staggering. It was like we're all like
start getting good at it after a while.
That's true.
We're all like walking around, screwing around, and all of a sudden Chevelle leans out and goes, "Get suited up now!" What? Yeah, car's coming down. Oh, crap. Get his helmet on. So we're out there. What was interesting is the weather. It was a cold track, but the weather was working really good. If you look at the times for everybody at Mid-Ohio this weekend, they were on pace with a NASA sprint race on sprints. In fact, Marilyn ran faster on street tires than she had on slicks out there at Mid-Ohio. It was
same car.
Exact same car.
Same car has run on slicks. And it ran faster on street tires in the cold.
Yeah, and
wow.
The AER has really stepped up their game. And the stuff that used the crossover from Lemons, if it is not pointing into the spear, it's not going to make it. Like the Keystone Cops and the Krabby Crab, they could do it, but I wouldn't imagine anybody else. I mean, anything short of Betty is not going to be able to make it nowadays in an AER race.
Oh, they're just narrowing their options for people that can join.
It's just it's getting faster. So after Travis, we put Matt back in, and Matt knocked like 3 seconds off his time, and so this comes down to Kevin Madsen. He's a pro, so he's got all kinds of sponsors, and he managed to convince AIM to give us an MXX 1.2 full color dash, and it's got the predictive timing, the integrated video, everything we needed to know on there, the red line lights. This thing is really slick. So we had all these configurable displays, and he messed with it on Friday and got it all set up, and then he was analyzing our data from Friday and Saturday to help us go out there, which is how Farah trimmed 3 seconds off of his time. So Saturday, he laid over his fastest lap versus my fastest lap, not just to make me feel bad, but also to show me where I could be a lot faster. And we started moving up as the field started to attrit. The Keystone Cops got wrecked out. That car is totaled. It's a write-off. The race wife.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
It was sad. The whole front end is shifted to, it's a goner. And it was a gorgeous 240 that they had out there.
Absolutely long time car.
Yeah. Chrissy?
do you know what happened? I saw it on Facebook. It's very sad, like total bad. But I asked what happened, and nobody indicated what was going on. Everybody's just like your driver Irv was okay. Do you know what happened?
I think it hit the wall.
I mean,
I don't know.
Or?
I don't know if I don't think they got pushed or just you drop a tire at some of those speeds, and in mid Ohio in certain corners is unforgiving.
I just thought if you were there and knew.
I didn't know until I saw it come in on the hook, and we were
we
were elbows and ankles over everything we were trying to do in our pits.
Okay.
So
sorry about that.
No, and it's a good question, and I even went to go get a picture of it and talk to them, and they'd already loaded it in the semi, and off they were going back to their dealership in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's right up our alley.
Yeah. So the Race Y Ferrari went out. 3 of the pointy end BMWs were taken out, and then there were a lot of people that were coming in, and like even the Caymans running on street tires, the Salines Caymans, only 2 of those finished the race, and they all had to do tire changes in the pits, or not in the pits, in the paddock, because AR doesn't allow tire changes, and I think their field's getting too fast. They're going to have to address that as a rule, because the way they were doing tire changes in the paddock it was just horrendously dangerous. Just a terrible idea all the way around, and people are walking around, and these cars are trying to do this quickly.
Well,
so
it's also not any better than having them do it in pit lane too. I mean, eventually
I would say pit lane. There's just not people pedaling around on bicycles and scooters. It's a little bit more of a controlled environment.
Well, and they control the pits by making a specific time that you have to spend in it. So maybe if they did a specific time, if you're doing wrenching that's not in the pits.
Yeah.
Because what is it? I think it's a 3-minute pit stop they have to be in.
And if anything, it's good to discourage people from overdriving the car and chewing their tires up.
Yeah.
To slow people down just a little bit so they're driving 9 tenths instead of 10 tenths.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's going to keep people better under control, because there weren't that many cars there, and a lot of them crashed really hard.
I'll make you a deal.
It was a brutal race.
Little schadenfreude on that Ferrari, though. I gotta say.
I'll make you a deal, Cole. You run 50 laps your way and 50 laps my way. We'll see which one is better.
Don't come in now, though. We're eating ice cream.
Eating ice cream.
Nice. So, Matt Trim, 3 seconds off his pace. And then Patrick Smith, he's a regional SECA guy. Really, really good driver. I ran with him at NCM this past summer. Guy can wheel. And Curtis Baldwin, who is a longtime super fast local, and he is a bit of a legend in endurance racing, especially if it rains. He's the guy that you always put in the car. So they got stints, and I got in at 3:30 in order to take the checker. So I'm on this aim dash. I've talked to Kevin. We've worked on this, and I was running 151s on Fridays on old tires. Now, by the time I got to Maryland Sunday, tires were a little greasy and the brakes were a little worn out. But I was able to drop into the 145s, like deep into the 145s. And our fast guy, Kevin, was running 142s, and Farah had a couple of 143s. So that's what this kind of data analysis and predictive timing can do for you. I knew exactly, if I tried something new, I knew exactly if it was going to work or not, according to that aim dash. It is just an impressive piece of equipment. And not to mention, Kevin's coaching is brilliant as well.
It's all about coaching. We have many stories about that from this weekend.
Yep. Now, just to go ahead and wrap it up. So the Saleen Caymans, they took overall with number 42, but the other 2 did not finish the race Saturday or Sunday. Krabby Kraut Jetta, they actually finished 9th overall. That car is quick and it's well driven, and people kind of give it the side eye like it doesn't belong here, and then they go and whoop everybody's hide with it. So it's pretty brutal. We talked about the Keystone Cops Volvo being a write-off with 69 laps. It was terribly sad. Race Wife 458 Italia Challenge car tangled with us, so we got a nice little donut on the side of Maryland, and then it got wadded up again, and Schadenfreude. Now, this was really impressive. So the TCS Racing Honda Fit, and we talked about that one, is a really swapped J, and they lost a whole wheel. Like the center of the wheel was still bolted onto the hub, and the rest of the wheel said, F you, I'm out of here. I'm going to go there and hang out in the corner. So that thing came on there, and they actually ripped it all apart, put it all back together, didn't even take the driver out of there, and they managed to get 24th overall. That is and they were a hard-working team. And then for the rest of the day, the guy who was driving the car when the wheel broke wore it around his neck like Flava Flav.
Nice.
Oh, good for him. That's a good way to go. All right.
So, and I know you guys love to throw a little bit of shade at AER, but that's still some fun high-speed racing when you get the right team.
I only throw shade because I think they're going against how they originally started, and it keeps getting worse. instead of just because of some big egos, and it's actually making it's going away from what we like and what like Kathy is liking of just get people on track.
Yeah.
They're not being inclusive. They're not trying to find ways to get a lot of good quality drivers out there. They're trying to find ways just to pump their heads up.
Well, they're trying to fill their field, and they're finding a niche that is different from Lemon's Champ, Lucky Dog, WRL. So
find where the cars are. If you're going to start a new series because you don't like closing speeds, and don't let the Ferraris in. Don't let the C6 Corvettes in. Because there's a lot more guys out there and gals with spec Miatas and E36 M3s that can go out and race, and you don't want to make it so that it's not welcoming to those kind of people. That there's a reason that the largest fields around and wait lists are not really at the AR races.
True.
So,
but there is some a bit of pride when you've got a Ferrari and they don't win. Even so, the guys there were talking. If I brought a Ferrari and I didn't win by 10 laps, I'd be too embarrassed. And I would say that Ferrari got beat by a certain silver MX-5 Cup Miata if we add up on the laps.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a thing. Like the last AER race we were at, there was a couple of like B spec racers and a few other things that are really cool cars, but they're not going to keep up.
No, but places like WRL, they're trying to do it the right way. They have a max on the power to weight ratio, but then they also have the classes to keep everybody together because they're trying to get the meaty end of the bell curve to get most people in. They're cutting the bottom off and the top off, but they're trying to be as inclusive as they can, and that's a smarter way to go than AER's checkbook race.
Well, here's the proof in the pudding. Mental, how many cars were at Mid-Ohio?
Oh, I stripped it off the notes. Whatever I said last week, 54, 50, something like that. Yeah.
If it's working at 54, good for them. Like, I don't know how you pay the bills at 54, but they're making it happen. So,
well,
Mid-Ohio's not cheap.
No,
yeah.
and they don't run a lame event. There's free coffee in there all weekend. You get a T-shirt and cool stickers,
I love their data.
They're doing some cool stuff.
Their data is very good.
Their data is amazing. The viewer's guide on the website and the whatever thing on your helmet that says who's driving.
And I'm genuinely surprised more series have not adopted the IR chip just to throw on a helmet because
I think John has really perfected that. Like, I think he has something to do with that technology because he's the only one doing it.
Or is it Justin? I don't know.
Or is it yeah, it's one of them. I don't know who is, but one of them is the one putting that stuff together. Yeah. I would do more AR races if my car was faster.
and our car is like fast lap of the race Lemons fast.
Oh no,
it's not a slouch.
No, I say the Honda would probably still end up in 2 or 3, and what would be great about bringing Jeffrey out there is everybody's giving you the side eye right until you pass them.
Yeah, that was our plan until we blew a lot of transmissions.
But the only time that's ever happened, sadly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, there it is. And that's a lot of race recap. I do want to mention that we are going to do more race recap on this race because we will probably be talking when Bill Fisher comes to be a guest on our show in a couple of weeks. We're going to try and do that like close to Atlanta, I think, right?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Season thing.
Yep. Because he started off at the beginning of the year with, we don't know what we're doing. And I'm sure he's going to finish off the year with, we don't know what we're doing.
I have to say, they're doing a lot of things much better at this race than they have at previous races. So
can I give it to them? They're learning.
The learning curve is there, and we are going to do
unlike
an entire
us,
show.
Our learning curve is basically a wall. And we're not getting over that wall. Yeah.
It's doing little swirlies now, actually. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So, but this is going to be the topic for a future show, so we're going to get off of that and move on to the next section.
On the spot.
On the spot.
So it's going to be that's nice, Mental. Thanks for the effect. This is going to be a quick, no one knows what the question is yet. So it's going to be a 1-sentence answer from everybody. What's your biggest takeaway from this past weekend? Especially something that might help the listeners. Jeff.
Biggest takeaway from me is that this is Jay's race, and don't mess with his rules.
Okay, great. Mental.
Keep the part that's working in the car.
Good. Chrissy.
Race monitor is awesome.
Try Race Hero next time, Chrissy. You won't be disappointed.
Some way to watch a race with little line items is great.
Hashtag they should totally sponsor us.
Chris, what is your one sentence takeaway from this weekend?
Give your drivers every chance to save the car by making it easy for them to do so. Like coolant pressure warning lights.
Absolutely.
Big gauges, extra,
Big gauges.
extra coolers, everything in your line of sight, all that stuff. Make it easy for the drivers not to blow the car up.
Love that.
Yeah, an AIM MX Dash, by the way, would totally do all of that.
Yeah, but that's $1,200 just for the screen thing.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
No, and the color one's actually more.
All right, next week's show will be released on Halloween. So we are doing the spooky, kooky Halloween show. Lots of great questions. We're going to do lots of round robins. It's going to probably be funny and quick and not nearly as technical as this show. We're going to do a lot more storytelling and a lot more quick things. So watch our social media because you two will be able to chime in. We're going to do round robin questions like Chris just did on the spot, and we're going to make sure to have some listener feedback on each section. So, there it is. All Halloween theme next week. That's loud. Sorry. Anyone else got anything good for the cause before we go on?
Nope. Wrap it up.
Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this retrospective week's edition of Everyone Racers. We hope you join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or want to give us some show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or by email, everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at Everyone Racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless you're already black flagged for leaking fuel, then just keep the wheels down.